Adoption is often seen as one of the most compassionate things a person can do. You expand your heart and open your home to children who need stability, love, and a family of their own. But what happens when adoption itself becomes content? And how ethical is it to sell the lives of the very children you promised to protect forever for views and monetary gain? This is the story of a viral family channel built around a household of 16 children, and how they created one of the most controversial family platforms on the internet. Having 16 kids is my personal version of hell. With over 5 million subscribers at present, the Nelson family started their YouTube journey in December of 2019 by introducing their big adoptive family to the world in a 12-minute long video.
Hey, you're our last hope, please.
I mean, if I'm gonna think about it, not enough Nelsons.
Not enough Nelsons.
All right, fans, what do we say? Welcome to Not Enough Nelsons!
Cass, one of the older siblings, always wanted to start a YouTube channel to show the world what it's like living with 15 siblings. During this time, Tiffany was pregnant with the youngest boy, Ledger, and the name of the channel came into being with the shared efforts of all family members. The strategic timing of the channel launch worked for them, and Not Enough Nelsons became one of the many YouTube channels that blew up during the 2020 COVID lockdown. At first, the content was very entertaining, and the heartwarming nature of the family as a whole drew positive attention. I love this story and how these kids have a connection with their siblings. Can we just appreciate that Tiffany and Benji are raising up 16 kids and giving them so much love? God bless you all. People watched these kids thrive in what seemed like a loving, happy home, and the content did incredibly well for the first few years, too. Tiffany is one of the most beautiful people on this planet. Watching this video made me tear up more than once, and I felt so grateful that there are people like her. She's so brave to share this and deserves the world. But slowly, cracks in this highly performative and extremely unrealistic life began to show. Kids watching your video make kids in the real world feel like their lives are horrible. They don't live in a castle, no vacations, hand-me-down clothes, no shopping at Ulta, buy expensive makeup, have their own room, and certainly not professionally designed and decorated. What once appeared wholesome and lovely soon became the subject of growing backlash and criticism. Those poor kids, random strangers knowing your business. Of children online should be illegal. And at the center of it all is a mother who proudly showcases adoption as a personal achievement, while neglecting the emotional, mental, and physical comfort of her children. Not only is the content invasive and embarrassing, the kids are also too young to consent to the videos they get featured in. And some of them even get bullied at school because of them. How can they claim that the kids are in control of what gets posted when they literally admitted that Navy got bullied by kids at school over her The Talk video?
Hey guys, welcome back to Not Enough Nelsons. As you know, we live in this castle house and have 16 kids. 9 of them are adopted. Yeah, 9. We are going to ask them some of your...
As one of the top family YouTubers, Not Enough Nelsons has managed to build a huge, loyal audience over the years. The channel has well over 5 million subscribers. And as the description reads, the main channel is solely dedicated to documenting Tiffany's great YouTube journey with her adoptive and biological kids. Some of the children have their own YouTube channels with millions of subscribers, and the family overall has a very strong internet presence. To give you all a little background, the Nelsons are based in Utah and Maui in Hawaii, and they are a family of 18. Tiffany and Benji are the parents, and have a total of 16 kids, out of whom 7 are biological and 9 are adoptive. The biological kids are Kennedy, Cassidy, Trey, Janie, Paisley, Presley, and Ledger, and the adoptive kids are named Bridger, Journey, Lily, Sadie, Luke, Delaney, Ellisy, Beckham, and Navy. Lily, Sadie, Luke, Delaney, Ellisy, and Beckham were all adopted from the same birth mother, whereas Bridger belonged to Russia and Navy was adopted from a very struggling mother. As of 2026, Cassidy, Kennedy, Trey, Jane, and Lily are married. Journey, Bridger, Bruce, Lily, Sadie, and Navy are legally adults, whereas Luke, Paisley, Ellisy, Janie, Presley, Delaney, Beckman, and Ledger are still underage. The theme of the channel has been quite obvious from the beginning. Tiffany, along with her kids, wanted to make a career out of her entertaining family. And like most creators, the Nelson family had their humble beginnings, and the channel started off with average quality videos and very amateur editing skills.
Hello, YouTube world. My name is Cass, and you're probably wondering, who are you and why am I watching this? Well, I'm about to tell you. So I have been wanting to start YouTube for years now. Why do I want to start a YouTube channel now, you ask? I have a family of 17. you're gonna have to see what it's like to live with 14 other brothers and sisters.
In their very first YouTube video, Cassidy, the second-born sibling, introduced their seemingly close-knit family to the world.
I mean, if I'm gonna think about it, not enough Nelsons.
Not enough Nelsons.
All right, fam, what do we say? Welcome to Not Enough Nelsons!
And they finalized their brand name Not Enough Nelsons, aka NEN, by the end of the video too. From there on, the long, very interesting journey of these creators was set to begin.
In today's video, we are going to be recreating our baby photos.
Then we're gonna have a fashion show for a special guest. See if they can guess which outfit goes with which brand, and whoever wins this challenge gets a huge surprise. All right, let's get started.
For the first few years of their career, the Nelsons channel mainly focused on posting fun family challenges, and some sneak peeks into Tiffany's daily routines as a mother of 16 kids. From the thumbnails and the frequency of their uploads, it was clear that the family aimed to grow their platform to a professional level. And surprisingly, the non-stop posting and the clickbait titles managed to attract a large audience, mainly kids, and the Nelson family channel became one of the most renowned family YouTubers of the time. With millions of subscribers, the channel at present has a total of 3.9 billion views, and with a net worth of around $8 million, the creators make hundreds of thousands of dollars every month. The YouTube journey of Not Enough Nelsons seems very organic at first glance, but the question about the ethical grounds and morality of the channel started to arise over time. What really set the stage for the growing criticisms towards their content was the constant mention of adopting 9 children and the endless promotion of materialism. Now, promoting and advocating for kindness by adopting children and giving them a safe, loving home is never a problem. It is considered a rather sacred act one commits out of love for humanity. And at first, Tiffany did appear like the perfect mother figure who was fulfilling her role really well. But the fine line between reality and shallow performance soon started to blur when Tiffany's kindness became the main theme of her channel. Tiffany, the main handler of the channel, portrays herself as this very spiritually connected, kind, generous woman who, from a very young age, knew she would adopt children who lacked a safe home and a loving family.
And is that possible? So then a few years later, we had moved into a new house, and really cool story, Cassie's actually one that kind of pushed the button on us starting our journey of adopting, and we adopted Richard!
After having 4 biological children, Tiffany and Benji finally started looking for children up for adoption, with the vow of giving them a life full of love and comfort.
It was raining outside, and I just said, we should be so grateful for our home and the food that we have and all the blessings we have. And Cass was just like, again, just moving around her corner, and she like started crying. I'm like, what's the matter? Why aren't you eating? What's the matter? And she said, I just really feel bad for all the kids out there that don't have a mom and dad. And me and Benji like immediately look at each other, and we're like, I think that means that it's time to start our adoption story.
Their adoption journey began after their second-born daughter, Cassidy, expressed her sympathy for homeless children in a very tear-jerking moment during a thunderstorm. This unworldly dedication to helping needy children and leading a kind life stemmed from their religious beliefs as well. For some context, Tiffany and Benji belong to a Mormon family and are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The Mormons, according to their beliefs, are extremely family-oriented people who dedicate a good portion of their lives to nurturing their children, doing volunteer work, and offering gratitude to their God for his blessings. They tend to be very family-oriented and have strong connections across generations and with extended family, reflecting their belief that families can be sealed together beyond death. Members also adhere to a law of chastity, requiring abstention from sexual relations outside heterosexual marriage and fidelity within marriage. But as the fame on the channel grew, more and more people started to notice how fictional and out of touch this entire family was becoming. Over time, the Nelsons were starting to contradict their own religious beliefs. The family, according to Mormon beliefs, is supposed to be a religiously humble group of people who, in addition to doing volunteer work, are taught to be modest about their good deeds and unending wealth. LDS church members have a responsibility to dedicate their time and talents to helping the poor. According to their beliefs, Mormons are taught to serve God and avoid prioritizing money. Matthew 6:24-26. No one can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. straight from the Bible. However, despite repeatedly portraying her family and herself as undeniably religious, Tiffany continues to install the idea of materialism in her kids and her very young audience. This blatant contradiction and the impact it has on her kids and the audience continues to infuriate people. And naturally, the family's materialistic nature and lack of basic empathy for the struggling class around the world became a hot topic at one point. More and more people were beginning to point out how hypocritical, materialistic, and contradictory the Nelsons were. I find it so incredibly contradictory and hypocritical that the Nelson parents, Cass included, I will touch on this later in the post, are so blatantly materialistic and seem to have enforced the same onto most, if not all, of their children. And all their acts of shallow kindness that mainly benefited them and the fake humility that Tiffany always puts on went flying out the window when the news and videos of the family purchasing thousands of dollars worth of handbags, overpriced clothing, and promoting unreal wealth to spoil children came to light. The Nelsons constantly forget that their audience comes from different financial backgrounds. This flashing of wealth and unattainable lifestyles are nothing but a bitter representation of how capitalistic and out of touch the influencer world really is. The NEN and these episodes are tapping into fantasy fulfillment for a lot of teens who have no money. The teens love it because Sephora parties are aspirational. From purchasing and bragging about overpriced clothes and shoes to the parents spoiling their teen children with cars and pricey trips, the Nelsons are often overboard with materialism and receive backlash for it. Where does she get her money? She has a $2 million home and all designer clothes. Does YouTube really pay that much? Unfortunately, flaunting their material wealth is far from the only problematic thing the Nelsons have turned into content. Tiffany is known to have an unhealthy obsession with documenting invasive content about her kids' lives. A clear, almost embarrassing example of it would be the school series. Moreover, the channel contains countless videos about the kids' hospital emergencies. And what could be worse than having a camera shoved into your face when it's the last thing you need? With the abundance of such content on the channel, it became painfully obvious that Tiffany loves to her kids' emergencies for views. The first indicator of her exploitative and selfish nature should have been the channel itself, which unfortunately received zero to little criticism for the first few years of its launch. You need the Mother of the Year award. I don't know how you do it, but you do. I'm glad Journey had a great time. I'm going to miss her mission. Much love to you and your family. This family is so beautiful. I like how everyone helps around in putting the groceries inside, and I love how organized everything is. In fact, people enjoyed watching an unusually large and rich family doing challenges and posting emotional videos. Nothing like watching some Not Enough Nelsons before bed. Delaney's hair looked so gorge. But the channel grew. More and more people started noticing the cracks in their characters. There is no way in hell the kids are okay with such private moments being put online. It was becoming painfully obvious how bizarre and invasive Tiffany's content actually was. From posting her teenage daughter's school name in the thumbnail of a video, to posting about their private moments like period talks, which many suspected were uploaded to market the NEN period kits they sell. Tiffany did everything in her capacity to capitalize on her young daughters and build an embarrassing online presence for them that can potentially cause them harm in the future. This content was met with intense backlash online. People found it bizarre how okay Tiffany was with exposing her daughter's school name to millions and millions of viewers. If Tiffany knew one thing, and I mean one thing, about safety, then she would know to make sure not to keep stuff hanging around the house exposing their school's name and whatnot, or at least blur it out, but she doesn't. The viewers also despised how the young girls, who were under the age of 12 at the time, were being used for period education and advertisement of the family's period kits. The whole period kit thing is whack and completely unnecessary. If I had to do that at 12, I'd be so mad. I feel so bad for the girls. They go to public school and their peers could see this. And even if you try to justify such content by calling it educational, what followed afterwards is something that took the internet by storm.
Hey guys, welcome back to Not Enough Nelsons. So for today's video, we are going to be doing the talk with another one of our kiddos. We filmed one of these before, as you might remember, with Paisley.
Oh, I remember.
But after I got done filming Paisley, I was talking to Navy, and
A few years ago, Tiffany shamelessly went on to post a series featuring two of her underage daughters and tried to normalize reproductive education for the parents and their children worldwide, completely forgetting that her kids were not test subjects for a lab experiment, and the extremely personal and private parts of their lives were not meant to be treated as public property.
That's a shock.
It is a shock.
All right, so we chose a place tonight to go to eat that Navy's never been to.
Me either.
Red Lobster?
In the video, Benji and Tiffany bring Navy to a restaurant to have an S-talk with her to build a closer, healthier bond.
You make promises to each other. You love each other more than anything. You put them first. You honor them. You respect them and care about them so much that what did we do? Me and Dad, when we were like 20 years old, we got da 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 da.
Good job.
Oh my God.
But the conversation was extremely private and intimate. It was not meant for such a public setting like a restaurant or a platform like YouTube. The child herself looked extremely uncomfortable, but Tiffany stayed unbothered, because in the end, she only cared about the money and the traction this exploitation would bring in. And the internet found the whole talk inappropriate and disgusting. Having the talk with your child isn't inappropriate. Having the talk with your child and posting it on the internet is inappropriate and frankly disgusting. That's a private conversation, period. Unfortunately, it's not even the most disturbing part of the video.
Woman, and he wants to make a special commitment with her, like asking her to get married.
Yeah.
He gives her something.
What did he give her?
What made it intolerable was the purity ring proposal.
So see this? What does it look like? Can you tell kind of what it looks like?
a key.
Oh.
Like a key at a
Going
lock.
around.
Yeah. And the stone in the middle is called a ruby. That's called a ruby. And that reminds me of the scripture that says a woman's virtue.
Benji got on his knee to take the vow of chastity from his 13-year-old underage daughter. This content attracted a lot of negative criticism from people across the internet. As an ex-Mormon adoptee, the ring thing with the dad just about made me throw up. The whole thing about made me throw up. What could have been a private, healthy conversation and learning experience for the kid turned into an awkward, meaningless childhood story. And this time was not the first time either.
To talk about this. I'm like really good at this part. This is like one of my bestest stories. But I totally think it might be more comfortable if a mom shares her with her daughter.
What do you think?
Mom.
Tiffany had made a similar video about giving the S-talk to Paisley, and the poor kid ended up breaking into tears on camera. The shameless parents captured this personal moment of this unaware child and uploaded it onto the internet for millions to see. Not only this, but the parents also continue to install their extremely conservative Mormon beliefs into their kids, so as to gain control over their lives throughout their YouTube journey. These exploitative behaviors by the parents have been brought up and criticized by the experts time and time again. Introducing the concept of purity rings and maintenance of chastity before marriage to literal children, by definition, is indoctrination and is considered to be a form of abuse. Indoctrination exploits the vulnerability and trust of young people, trapping them in a mindset they didn't choose and cannot easily question. But Benji and Tiffany, like always, chose to ignore the basic rights children have to explore the world and build their own beliefs, and continued posting such content. And these videos managed to pull in a lot of views, and the parents leached on their children's privacy for a petty amount of dollars. But this time, the internet refused to stay blind to these problematic behavior patterns. A grown man in an authority position not proposing to his 13-year-old daughter is beyond horrifying. The entire thing was disgusting and exploitative, but damn! That proposal/promise ring was wrong on multiple levels. Disgusting that they filmed this, and so sad that she said it's awkward to go somewhere with her parents because she never gets to do it. Their exploitation became a major topic online. People kept calling them out for disgusting behavior, the talk videos. So I found NEN on Facebook a while back. One of those things I couldn't look away from. Some problematic things, the insane materialism and kids' exposure, but whatevs. Then they had one of the blonde little girls' video with the talk. It was awful, so intimate a thing to put on, plus the purity rings. Then I have to imagine for more views, they did it to Navy, who was at least 13. That has to be insane for that poor kid at school. The purity ring, the being told about so old. It's almost criminal. There are lots of other issues I have with this white savior family, but this is the worst. It's really gross that they felt the need to film and publish it on social media. It's exploitation that should be illegal. And it didn't stop there. A YouTube channel that goes by the name Viral Virtue, the owners of which are ex-Mormons, criticized the video as well.
This is more recent with a different kid who seems like she's older, but this is the talk.
The duo in the video explained how normal it is for Mormon families to have too many children like the Nelsons. and how they control all of them for their own gain. They blatantly pointed out how the Nelsons have been showing the same patterns throughout their YouTube career.
Okay, like, these people are giving their child the talk on a YouTube video in a public place if it was, like, the last one that they
very
did.
public.
Like a restaurant.
The YouTubers also rightfully called out Tiffany for being a terrible mother and being an incredibly vulnerable moment of her children for clicks and dollars. But instead of taking accountability and backtracking, Tiffany decided to exploit the viral virtue commentary too, and try to get her fans' sympathy by falsely copyright striking the critic's video. Thank you for your assistance. On both of these videos, I and my minor child appear in talking about sensitive subjects, and I have edited the videos as to not make my minor child embarrassed. However, in the videos, I have submitted copyright claims for the channel owners are commenting mean and hurtful things about me and my children the entire video. I have, so far, not been able to let my children see these hurtful videos. But my child was shown these videos last week by someone at school. Our entire video is on screen the entire time during these videos. My children are talked about in derogatory ways, as are their parents. I do not give my permission to these channels to have my entire video with my children displayed for their bullying and making fun of our special moments, talking about delicate things such as this. It is causing my child and me very much stress, and this bullying should not be allowed. If they cannot be taken down for copyright issues, I am wondering if you can further direct me as to how I can get my entire videos with my children being made fun of taken down. Is it okay that they show the entire video with me and my children on their channel? Is there no copyright laws being violated in that? I look forward to your help. Thank you, Tiffany. According to her, the viral virtue duo wrongfully copied her content and showed her underage child on their channel for views and clickbait, something that she has been doing herself for years. This hypocrisy and brutal selfishness exposed everything the internet needed to know about Tiffany as a person and a parent. They're disgusting children collectors. I am an adoptee, and I could go on and on about how wrong this is. Gag. So grateful my parents didn't put me through this BS. But all Tiffany did upon receiving the criticism was take down those videos from the channel and feign ignorance of what the internet was saying. Also, they have deleted all these talk videos on their channel. With that, the criticism continued to grow. And so did the Not Enough Nelson's family channel. A year after the widely documented Navy and Paisley controversies, Tiffany posted something much more invasive. Again. This time, it was an entire 9-part-long adoption series, which went completely overlooked as a problem. Tiffany went on to post a very detailed adoption series to tell her story of how her adoption journey began.
Job of that. And so I have to go there. Guys, I was 12 years old. I don't know if any of you know Donahue. Donahue was like a daytime show, kind of like Oprah, where Donahue would interview people, and I just laugh at how many Donahue series actually had a true impact on my life. But this day, me and my mom were sitting on her bed. She was sitting back, I was sitting on the edge of the bed and watching this Donahue series about adoption and foster care. And this young man stood up, and this man, I still remember his face. He was maybe in his early 20s.
She described that her dream was inspired by a very beautiful show on the adoption that she watched at 12 years old.
That sat with me so real in my heart as a 12-year-old, the impact that this angel mother had had on this boy. And I turned around, I said, Mom, we have to start fostering and adopting. I have an amazing mom.
And from that day on, it became her religious goal, almost an obsession, to take care of the kids in need ever since she was a kid. Now, this series wouldn't have been a problem if Tiffany hadn't uploaded countless videos about her adoption journey on the channel already. Exploitation aside, how many times can they post these same stories? There are already at least 3 series on these. Also, like, hey, we treat our kids all the same. Oh, except the adopted ones, we remind them that they were adopted and keep making them tell us about how they were adopted. Not only was it something extremely unethical and immoral to sit in front of a camera and gather praises for this act of compassion for the millionth time, the stories she was sharing were also never hers to own and tell. They belonged to her children, who at the time could not even consent to their lives being plastered on the internet for the whole world to see. So instead of receiving the grace and honor of being accepted as Tiffany's children, the identities of these kids were used by their mother so she could create a colorful false fantasy of an unreal motherhood wrapped up in spiritual guidance. The series mainly consisted of 9 videos, and each one of them made tons of views.
When I was giving birth to her, I was stuck in transition for literally like 2 hours. Every single time that I would lose consciousness, I saw people other people that weren't really there.
In every video, Tiffany would purposefully present herself as the God-sent angel who consistently had graphic visions of her ancestors during the birth of her biological children, and sightings of the children she was going to adopt in her dreams.
Really heavily outside, and we had all of our dinners set. We said prayer, and then we began to eat. And I looked over at Cassidy, and Cassidy wasn't ever like super emotional growing up. You know, I don't know, it was unexpected, but I looked over at her. She was kind of crying and just playing with her corn and wouldn't eat. And I said, Cass, what's the matter? And she said, well, Mom, I'm just thinking about all those little kids out there that don't have a mom and dad right now. And it was just the sweetest thing. And Benji and I looked at each other and we just knew, I think it's time. I think it's time that we start looking to adopt.
The real driving force behind the decision to adopt was Tiffany's biological daughter, Cassidy.
The wise hand opens slowly to lilies of the valley and tomorrow. At that point, I knew that tomorrow would come soon, and I knew that her name would be Lily.
The most controversial adoption story was of Lily.
Find the power and the triumph to lift others in that same struggle. I've just always been amazed at the beauty of mankind. And honestly, even those people who really struggle and who cause other pain and who make...
Tiffany mentioned having very graphic dreams of seeing a baby in her dreams, whom she would have adopted.
In my childhood. So I grew up with a wonderful mom and dad who loved me greatly, and I felt that love, and I felt so safe in my home, and I'm so grateful to my parents.
In the dream, she refused to take the baby because another baby by the name of Lily was destined to be hers.
And my parents did a great job of that. And so I have to go there. Guys, I was 12 years old. I don't know if any of you know Donahue. Donahue was like a daytime show, kind of like Oprah, where Donahue would interview people, and I just laugh at how many Donahue series actually had a true impact on my life. But this day, me and my mom were sitting on her bed. She was sitting back, I was sitting on the edge of the bed and watching this Donahue series about adoption and foster care.
Lily was supposed to be a 3-year-old with green eyes, and Tiffany had dreams of a baby that matched those details. According to her, she found Lily in a very holy, spiritual setting and took it as a sign from the angels and the Savior.
And this young man stood up, and this man, I can still remember his face. He was maybe in his early 20s, just this bright light coming from him. And he expressed how difficult it had been to go through foster care, and how this amazing lady sitting next to him had an impact on his life.
Tiffany decided right then and there she was going to adopt a baby named Lily, who had green eyes. The spiritual talk and religious claims worked in her favor. At the time, most people did not realize the manipulative nature of the videos and just appreciated how Tiffany was bringing a positive change to society. The moment you said you found out her name was Lily and she had green eyes like your dream, I literally got goosebumps, once again moved by your incredible story. This series is the definition of everything happens for a reason, and such content did help her build a spiritual, warm image that she was looking for, at least for a while. Tiffany is so close to God. I love how spiritual she is, and her comment box was filled with positive and very emotional comments. You are an angel that God sent to rescue all these beautiful humans. God bless you all. But with growing criticisms against family vloggers and the Nelson family also became a center of contempt online. Many believed that Lily's adoption story from the adoption series was made up, and Tiffany was just a crazy lady making things up. The ones where she heard a voice telling her that child is hers, or the appeared in a dream ones, I think there was more than one like that. If she didn't make those things up, but really thinks it was real, she's crazier than I thought. Yeah, it seems really unlikely that she had so many of these visions. Once I could see as a coincidence.
Okay, and she just had tears streaming down her face and a great big smile. Like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm okay. And she just really got it. Like, she just really understood what it meant to be in a family who loves you and where you feel safe.
Not only was this series disturbingly delusional, but the viewers also found it evil how comfortably Tiffany abused Navy's tragic adoption story. For context, Navy's biological mother had an intoxication problem, which led to Navy's departure from her biological family and joining the Nelsons. This made people realize how inappropriate and embarrassing it must be for the kids to have millions of strangers know every fragile detail of their lives. This just confirms how she has a savior complex and that she wants to make money off of it. Anyone who denies it is just dense. It's ridiculous. The content also made it very clear that this whole family was being maintained and raised for fame purposes. Moreover, a good portion of reviewers believed that she was making up stories to build more engagement and secure a loyal audience at the expense of her children's lives. She definitely makes up some things to better her persona. Even details of real stories she tells. You can literally see some of the kids look confused in parts of the story that seem to be an exaggeration. I hate how she their adoptions, always expressing immense privacy, whilst basically telling us the very things she said we should know about the children's lives. And without any doubt, this was the definite truth. What solidified these suspicions was Tiffany's horrible approach at finding the adoptees. According to her viewers, she treated the entire adoption process like a shopping spree. Why does the adoptions kind of sound like she was shopping? For instance, scrolling through the adoption apps to look for the cutest options. Tiffany also, without a pause, made several claims of foreseeing her children to be in her very spiritual dreams and used these experiences as an explanation for why she looked for a green-eyed baby named Lily. As if this whole adoption content was not enough, Tiffany had no shame whatsoever in revealing that she changed all of the adoptees' birth names. And the names she gave her daughters were extremely awkward, and the family constantly gets mocked for their cartoonish naming system to this day. I feel like they didn't have to change Lily's spelling. It was disrespectful in a way. And they didn't have to change Navy since she was probably 11, going on 12. From the names of the children to the content of the channel, everything reeks of greed and overabundance of sources to fulfill it. One very easily available source of attention and traction for such people is tragedies, and one of which became a testing ground of Tiffany's kindness, compassion, and undying light of enlightenment, which she terribly failed at. It wasn't only her children who were the victims of the Tiffany's cunning self somehow managed to capitalize on a tragic incident that took place on Maui Island in 2023. In early August of 2023, a series of wildfires broke out on the islands of Maui, and more than 100 people died in this tragic incident. This heartbreaking situation led to an emergency declaration, and by August 9, a state of emergency was issued for the entirety of Hawaii. As the fires began to spread on Maui, government officials started to issue disaster declarations to fund firefighting efforts, rescue, and recovery. Hawaii's Lieutenant Governor, Sylvia Luke, issued an emergency declaration during mid-afternoon of August 8th. Things were really bad during this time. Lives were lost, towns were emptied, the fires were terrible, and the tragedy was truly heartbreaking. Coincidentally, Tiffany and her kids were on Maui Island for a family vacation when this unfortunate turn of events unfolded there. But Tiffany's zero consideration for the victims became terribly obvious, and the mask of kindness and spirituality was finally slipping. Instead of using her resources to help the affected families there and evacuating the island for her family's safety, Tiffany made a total of 5 different videos to document how the Maui fires affected her and her kids, who, in the videos, appear to enjoy the vacation. This behavior infuriated the internet. It was extremely disrespectful and out of touch for Tiffany, a multi-millionaire, to make the tragedy about herself and monetize it on her platform. The ridiculous nature of this content received a very deserving amount of backlash. It was very hard to get through this video because it made me so freaking angry. These people are the worst of the worst. In this tragic situation, how can your first thought be, "I'm gonna film me as I fake cry"? Such a shame these people exist. What's really disgusting is she didn't want to give up her rooms to locals displaced because of their houses were burning down, instead of being Christian and sharing her rooms with others. She wants to hold it just in case. But despite all these controversies on camera, the reality of what actually goes on behind the scenes somehow manages to make it even more disturbing. Because as they built a massive audience online, the parents' dangerously clumsy habits and obsession with fame seem to have impacted the children greatly. In addition to Tiffany's questionable personality, her poor parenting skills, the habit of oversharing on social media, and extremely nature that has completely eradicated any chance of privacy in her children's lives, she constantly controls what her children do, wear, and eat, ultimately putting them through a suffocating and controlling environment. This sheer control and lack of freedom can give way to the tendency to break free. And it did turn out to be the case for some of Tiffany's children. One example is the controversy around Sadie, who said the N-word in one of her Instagram stories that she posted herself. This drew a lot of criticism, and the viewers blamed Tiffany and Benji's lack of parenting and Sadie's lack of respect and consideration for people of color. This starts with bad parents, but she's old enough to know right from wrong and do better. I grew up Mormon in rural Utah, and when I first heard the N-word, I asked what it was. My parents explained it, but in a way that I didn't know it was bad until I used it against my sister in an argument. This forced my mom to realize that they were racist and raising us the same way. Luckily, that was a wake-up call and they put an end to it. Seemed like Tiffany and Benji aren't having the same wake-up call and conversations with their kids. The controversy grew, and Sadie ended up having to explain herself and apologize for the harm that she caused to herself, her family, and her fans. But after only 4 months of the controversy, another video of Sadie saying the N-word got leaked by a friend from a private group setting. Which only goes to show, despite all the spotless image online, how terribly monitored and raised these kids turned out to be. And as if it was not enough, another series of bullying accusations against one of the Nelson kids started surfacing on TikTok. This time, it involved Paisley Nelson.
And yes, for everybody asking, this story is true. Some influencers act so sweet online, but then you meet them in real life and they are not who they say.
A TikToker posted a video of story times to expose Paisley for being rude to her fans and fellow creators.
She's gonna be the sweetest person ever. Mind you, this is an influencer event. You're supposed to be talking.
Apparently, this small creator on TikTok approached Paisley at an influencer event to network with her for career purposes.
Friends on TikTok, and she was with her friends, so I walked up to her and I was like talking to her, telling her that my goal was to become an influencer and a YouTuber. And she basically followed me on TikTok, and then she was like giggling with her friends. The giggling and the laughing was the first time, like she was like whispering with her friends, like giggling and laughing when they saw my account, because I only have a little bit of followers, as you guys could see. But on my main account, guys, I have 32,000 followers, so that's how I was at this event. But unfortunately, I have to start over with this account, so follow to be an OG. So I thought maybe I was just overthinking it. I was happy that she followed me, and I went home telling my friend, because my friend's a big fan of None of Nelson's, her family channel on YouTube. So I go to show my friend that Paisley Nelson followed me. I'm all excited, and I realized that she unfollowed me right after I left the event. Because I don't have a lot of followers, I'm assuming, but she unfollowed me right after, which is just super weird.
Upon meeting the girl, this TikToker asked Paisley to follow her on Instagram, which she did instantly, only to unfollow her right after. The creator accused Paisley and her group of friends for mocking her and her small follower count at the event as well. Paisley herself took notice of the accusations and personally commented on the video to deny the allegations. But it's important to note that these allegations may not actually be true, as this TikTok influencer is involved in making similar accusations against other big influencers too. And the internet wouldn't have cared so much about it if she was the only one making these claims. Because interestingly enough, even Paisley's own classmates have said very similar things about her behavior and bullying nature. I don't know if y'all saw, but if you guys go into YouTube and search NNT, you'll see videos from her posted about 3 days ago stating all about Paisley's classmates saying the truth about Paisley. Even in comments, people said they met Paisley, Presley, and Elsie. Some said Luke and Navy too, somewhere, and stated that Presley and Elsie were nice, whilst Paisley was super mean. Commenter also said that Press is trying to stay away from Paise, but is forced on camera. Paisley is known as a bully IRL, and honestly is quite misbehaving on camera too. She complains a lot, wears inappropriate clothing, full face of makeup. I know she is still 14, but no one points this out. I fully believe it. She got such an ego from the fame, and I wouldn't put it past her to think she's above other people. I saw a video on TikTok of her influencer friends making fun of a fan asking for a photo. Real mean girl behavior. This is why we shouldn't make children famous. Their brains aren't wired for it. As concerning as it is, it's not actually surprising to see the Nelson kids behaving like this, considering the spoiled life they've lived and the type of mother that Tiffany is, who has also been making rounds in online communities for all gravely wrong reasons. Tiffany, besides being a terrible mother online, has been compromising her children's physical safety and education at every point in their lives. From exposing her family's house address. Did Tiffany really just show her address? Okay, not a street name, but number in front of the house. Is nothing off limits for this woman? To leaking her children's school name in Utah. Overshares her kids, and then, I shocked, people know where her kids go to school. Do cheer. It's stupidity at its finest. The mother has proved several times that she is not a trustworthy fit for her own children. It's also been brought up multiple times how the children are being subjected to labor against their will and how they wish to have a real, normal life like other children. In one of the videos Tiffany herself recorded, the viewers noticed how her kids were upset for not being able to meet their friends all summer. All because she makes them film all day, every day, and keeps them from maintaining healthy friendships. Did you hear in one of her recent videos, the mom was covertly recording the kids mourn about going out? She wanted to surprise them later on. And her daughter says something along the lines of, "I want to see my friends today. I've not seen them at all this summer because we've been filming every single day." And that she had to leave her friends' hangouts early to come back filming. This is so wrong. Another major neglect these kids have always faced is the lack of education, and the overabundance of parental control and unending labor in the name of content. For instance, over the years, the family has moved around countless times. This directly contributed to the stagnation of the children's academic and personal development because their lives lacked consistency.
Because we also have... Is the UK like Australia? New York, Paris...
wait, isn't New York in the country?
Maybe, I don't know.
I think it is.
Wait, but
And they ultimately became prone to public mockery for not knowing basic geography. I'm genuinely concerned. They have more knowledge on TikTok dances and makeup than simple geography.
Probably just like trying to make new friends is kind of hard.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, like schedule, I feel like we don't have like a good like schedule to follow.
Yeah.
Like we don't like, I don't know, like know what we're gonna do.
And we're always so used to being busy here, like we
Yeah.
have like all the activities and everything, but...
The family moved to their Hawaii residence in July of 2025, and the family posted an update on the move later in September of the same year. In the video, the kids blatantly complain about not being able to find or make any friends in real life, and a lack of a proper schedule to follow.
They're just, we don't got...
Yeah,
That's true.
we literally don't have anything to do.
We
so
don't have
we're just
anything to
sitting there.
fill a schedule. Like, we have, like, you know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and guys do some things, but...
And the kids actually seem pretty tired of it. I hear that they miss school, friends, routine, and just being kids and not just being in content.
Yeah,
But-
like, just like don't even make the assumptions. I know you guys are like trying to like look out for us and you guys think stuff, but like some people assume like that we're getting forced to do YouTube, that we get treated differently, that our mom does this. Like, guys,
During the video, the kids and Tiffany try to dodge the accusations of the kids being forced to film together, but end up contradicting their own statements and explaining how the content creation has led to them constantly missing classes and, consequently, shifting to online school. The kid goes, "People shouldn't assume we're forced to do YouTube," and not 5 minutes before Tiffany admits that the kids have to miss school and go back and forth because they have to film. And this just goes to explain how the kids are being meaninglessly forced to film with the family and how their academics are also being sacrificed constantly. Moreover, the main reason why all the Nelsons moved to Hawaii in the first place was to focus on fixing the mess their lives had become because of the constant filming. But instead of actually working towards their goals, the family continued to film more content. And Tiffany being Tiffany, somehow managed to capitalize on her kids' schooling in Hawaii too. Just like that, the move to the island went down the drain, and no fruitful or healthy change came out of it. But many wonder, was the move truly about a healthy change in the first place, or was something entirely different driving it? In March of 2025, following the disturbing rise of kidfluencer and child on the internet reforms, the state of Utah enacted legislation with the goal of protecting the financial rights of the children of online influencers and content creators. This new law applies to every creator in Utah who makes $20,000 or more off of content that features minor children, and according to it, a percentage of that minor's earnings would have to be held until they turn 18. Parents or guardians of minors who earn $20,000 or more in a calendar year from social media or performing must establish a trust for the child's benefit. The trust ensures that a percentage of the minor's earnings is held until they turn 18. This provision, similar to the famous Coogan law for child performers, addresses concerns over financial exploitation, ensuring that children are not deprived of the money that they rightfully earn. The law provides every right to the child influencers over the capital their parents make by posting their personal lives for their personal benefits. To prevent conflicts of interest, the law specifies that if the average monthly balance of a minor's trust exceeds $250,000 for 6 consecutive months, the trustee must petition a court to appoint a new trustee. This rule aims to avoid situations where a parent or guardian might misuse the funds in the trust, ensuring that the child's financial interests are protected by an independent third party. Moreover, the Utah law also allows the kidfluencers to get their content where they were minors deleted after they turn 18. Section 34-23504 allows individuals, upon turning 18, to request the social media company to delete or edit any social media content that features them as a minor. The law took effect on May 7, 2025, and was of course bad news for Utah. The timing of Nelson family's move to Hawaii was interesting, and they were unable to fool their viewers. I think the Nelsons have an ulterior motive for moving. Now, keep in mind, the family moved to a different state around the time when the Utah kidfluencer law was finally regulated, which suggests that not enough Nelsons moved to Hawaii to dodge the legal penalties, and continue their minor children. I think it's because Utah recently passed their social media law limiting minors on platforms and the ability for minors to request videos with them be taken down. The controversy became a hot discussion in online communities who took notice that the situation and the content creators were criticized heavily for their cunning, almost scary approach to avoid legal action against their action, which are now deemed as criminal. Absolutely what I thought. Isn't the timing convenient for them? Also, what's up with the weird surprise acting of P&N when the kids already knew about the move? Tiffany and Cassidy have made money off these kids, and they are not going to let a little thing like the law or the emotional well-being of their children keep them from their cash flow. Viva la room makeover, Ohana Hawaiian style. The viewers found the urgency of moving out of Utah rather suspicious. The explanation doesn't make any sense, and the decision to move seems so sudden. I mean, sure, they've been mentioning that they were moving, but they were planning on building, but suddenly did not and just conveniently bought a house just because? Kinda sketchy. This move was not only an indication that Not Enough Nelson's family was guilty of their kids, but it also showed how little consideration Tiffany and Benji have for their kids' safety. The parents are capitalizing on their children to this day in broad daylight, and that too by cunningly playing with the laws of the state they belong to. And keeping this situation and multiple others, the only conclusion we can draw is that Tiffany's biological and adopted kids are nothing more than content material to her, and it will never change. Despite all the controversies worth getting canceled for, the Not Enough Nelsons continues to perform extremely well. Conveniently, the Nelsons are not capitalizing only on their kids, but the huge audience they have built over the years too. The family handles a very neatly crafted website dedicated to their merch. Their embarrassingly high self-centeredness and a very delusional audience motivated the Nelsons to launch a very interesting merch. Their merchandise includes period kits, bento boxes, tumblers, and literal t-shirts with the name of all Nelson kids written on the back. This pattern once again highlights how Tiffany rarely lets any opportunity pass without turning it into content, and more importantly, into revenue. Even something as personal and family-centered as her children's identities is repackaged into products, reinforcing a system where their lives are continuously monetized. For years, family vlogging has existed in a legal and ethical gray area, and several live examples of multiple such controversies have proven time and time again that the privacy of family, especially children, is an incredibly sensitive topic. Ralphie Waplington, an underage kid influencer who at the age of only 2 had 20,000 followers in 2019. His parents, the main handlers of the Instagram page, were heavily criticized by the BBC for child and abuse. With the influencer culture becoming a norm, many similar stories have been making headlines on the internet throughout the years, non-stop. Concerns child influencers are being exploited by their parents. Former child influencer shares story of abuse. Children who grew up on camera rarely get to decide how much of their lives are shared with millions of strangers online. Their childhoods become storylines, their emotions become content, and their most private moments can turn into viral entertainment. The same has been the case for Not Enough Nelsons. Tiffany's obsession with recording every minute detail of her underage children, especially her daughters, has raised major red flags throughout the years. Despite the unending criticism and the introduction of several child laws, no remorse or accountability have been shown by the Nelson family. And just like them, multiple other child abusers go unnoticed because of the scale of such crimes, and child abuse has been too huge. And lastly, the Nelson family is just one example of a much larger issue. One where the line between parenting and production slowly blurs. And the real question is this: when these children eventually grow up, how will they feel about having their entire childhood documented for the internet? Because views, money, and subscribers eventually fade. But the digital footprint of a child that was never meant to be public can last forever.